Mountain bike events that go on for days can be brutal, but at the same time quite rewarding. For these warriors of the track, traversing through unwelcoming terrain is just another day of excitement at the office. And throw in the majestic beauty of a section of Australia that sparkles, and you've got yourself a two-wheel adventure that simply takes your breath away. And this is what Wildside is all about. Racing over tracks and trails over some of Tasmania's most inhospitable areas. Now, the state's wilderness is known for its amazing beauty, but more to the point, this is heaven on two wheels for aspiring mountain bike champions. These are the tranquil and natural surrounds of Cradle Mountain National Park. Rising to more than 1,500 metres above sea level, it's an area of Tasmania that is heritage listed. Crystal blue skies are an attraction for 490 riders, some of whom took on the biggest challenge of their lives.
6 Mark, 7 Rob.
Nervous energy is released for these elite riders who are here on a mission, although there was a degree of caution for the 18-kilometre opener.
You've got about a minute.
This was the start of a 4-day test. Heading down through the rugged alpine plains, the staggered groups made their way into the adjacent forests. Jumping hurdles and overcoming obstacles are just part of the course at Wildside. It's not a matter of if you're going to come off, but when. For the less experienced, it's a given. Coming towards the finish line, the leaders finally emerged. Paul van der Ploeg too fast in the sprint, the first to strike for what promised to be a tough road ahead. After the early morning frenzy, it's lunchtime. Riders must earn their feed by riding the 14-kilometre cruise section for the start of stage 2. A feast awaits.
This isn't bad, is it?
Another appeal to mountain bike racing is the equality between the elite and the amateurs who compete. This is a close-knit society.
Wildside ferries have to eat as well, you know.
Single tracks dominate competition for stage 2. The shadows of the myrtle forest provide a cooling and calming effect. Its canopy a protection from the beating sun as temperatures reach the mid-30s. You could be mistaken for being in the depths of the Amazon jungle. Tasmania's rainforest is the perfect setting for an event where the not-so-glamorous get to rub shoulders with the sport's big names. There's an art about carving a path through the tricky terrain. You're miles from nowhere. It's so peaceful, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else. On to day 2, and with the imposing shadows of Mount Murchison in full view, riders were presented with their longest challenge. Sid Taverley led the parade and needed to make up a 26-second deficit on the leadership enjoyed by Paul van der Ploeg, who handled the responsibilities with no fuss. Once over the climb, there was little time for respite. Negotiating the large rocks, exposed tree roots and steep pitches meant riders had no choice but to stay focused on an uneven surface. Even expensive camera lenses weren't safe in this hazardous environment.
I nearly had it. Oh, sorry, buddy. Hang on to it, mate.
But the camera is there for good reason, and if you're not on your game, it can be a little embarrassing.
Bike wash.
Wildside's guardian angel provides some much-needed relief. For those chasing the spoils of victory, this is serious business. We're on board with Taboulet, who's first into the Stage 3 finish at Rosebery. The budding London Olympian puts more than 70 seconds on Van der Ploeg and in doing so captures the overall lead. Montezuma Falls is one of Tasmania's highest waterfalls and one of Wildside's memorable attractions.
Bit of race etiquette in play.
It's worth a glance if given the opportunity, as long as you're not fazed by the swaying narrow passes below. As for the crossing over the suspension bridge, that's another challenge. Not all are comfortable with the prospect of wheeling their bikes to the other side. Whatever you do, don't look down. From there, the course throws up other obstacles. The water trappings are deep and dirty. But if you've got a sense of humour, you're like a pig in mud.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
A couple of short climbs keep the legs pumping.
Hey, buddy. This will be the tramway cobble. I reckon. 1 degree up all the way.
The downhill run to the finish was fast, furious and very dusty. Either way, it reminds riders of Wildside's contrasting charm. Its ruggedness ironically matched by its mesmerising beauty. Day 3, and it was time for riders to replace sunscreen with protection from wet weather.
Could you just make sure these guys are following you at the end, because I don't trust them.
The sudden downpour is a headache for the timing crew, not that spirits are ever dampened for the time trial.
372, Dale. 9:35, she's 5 minutes off. Don't go in.
Setting off in pairs for the race against the clock is certainly a unique exercise. The course through the town of Zeehan was just 6 kilometres in distance, but certainly had an urban feel about it compared to the previous 2 days. As the motocross track made way for non-motorised machinery, it was the sight of riders through the gloom on the golf course that provided curiosity. Either way, the rain didn't let up. The small narrow tracks had turned into a flooded escape route for some. For others, there was no escaping the treacherous conditions. Into the darkness and the relative isolation of the spray tunnel. The light at the end of the 200 metres stretch provides slight relief from the rain. They emerged from the mist looking like ghosts from the past. Jerseys and numbers had become difficult to distinguish, let alone faces. Tasmania's rugged Wild West was best illustrated for the trek to Granville Harbour. Once an anchorage for isolated settlements that now sprinkle the coastline, Trial Harbour was the starting point for the final stage of a long and tough day. It didn't take long for the elite to establish a lead group in the low visibility. All the usual suspects were there on a stage the briefing notes described as mountain bike racing at its best. The final kilometres were raced over fast and rocky terrain. Some chose to tackle the surface with caution, others took the Route 1 approach, although fast speeds soon became redundant. Yet all was forgiven for the sprint to the top of the short climb to the finish, with the waves of the Southern Ocean crashing behind in the near distance. And so to the final challenge from the picturesque village of Strawn. Normally a haven for international tourists, the throng of foreign visitors was temporarily replaced by the sight of tiring bodies and accompanying machines. Even the bravest of hearts made an appearance as final instructions were delivered from race organiser Nick Decker.
I'll simply wave you through, hit the button and you're off.
A howling southerly that whipped up overnight prompted a switch in racing conditions. Rather than race straight into a 60 km/h block headwind, the 36 km finale would be raced in reverse.